I gave Komi Can't Communicate a shot after being seemingly unable to escape mention of the series both in my real and digital life by individuals who can't stop singing its praises. If I'm honest, at first glance, I threw it into the same category and judged it as slice of life, waifu incel bait. This absolutely wasn't a fair judgment, but I can't help but be honest about what popped into my head. Nevertheless, I picked up the first volume and was actually pleasantly surprised. It was a manga with a number of charming characters, even if it fell into cliche tropes a little often for my taste, but more than anything, I was surprised by the subject matter. For those that are unaware, the main character Komi is suffering from an anxiety disorder of such severity that she is literally unable to make herself speak in the presence of others, hence the can't communicate portion of the title. Author, Tomohito Oda, takes the time to explore Komi's internal state during these moments of anxiety and offers a lighthearted but honest and relatable expression of what social anxiety can look like. After reading this first issue of Komi, it was not difficult for me to understand how this series has blown up in the way that it has. With anxiety rates increasing within the general population as they have, especially in recent years, I'm quite positive a number of both men and women see themselves in Komi. I can see how a number of teens and young adults could latch onto her character, identifying with the awkwardness and discomfort that Komi feels trying to navigate the social war zone that is high school life, and rooting for her as she makes progress little by little into someone whom is more capable and independent with the help of her friends. Add on top of this the mean potential of the quirky facial expressions and mannerisms Komi and various other characters in the manga make, and you have a recipe for mainstream success. As I read though, something that caught my attention almost immediately that I'm surprised I have not seen more discussion about within the Komi discourse was the role of pretty privilege in the manga. To be honest, I have qualms about this term personally, which we'll explore shortly, but I think we would be omitting something significant if we did not talk about the role of physical attractiveness in the narrative and how themes relating to it pervade the entirety of the story. See, it isn't just Komi that suffers from social anxiety, but Komi within the world of her narrative is seen as an objective beauty, and her attractiveness fundamentally changes everyone around her perceptions of who she is. Because Komi is attractive, her shyness is misconstrued by everyone as aloofness, dignity, and an expression of her superiority over others. Komi doesn't even have time to waste her words on you because she is so above your level in every conceivable way. This concept is played to extreme comedic effect in the story, with teachers changing entire lesson plans due to them interpreting Komi's silence as a critique of their teaching style. While the absurdity of the situation can absolutely create comedic moments, there's definitely some social commentary here worth exploring. If we are all being honest with ourselves, I think it's fair to say that in the realm of social interaction, looks matter. In both Western and Eastern culture, physical beauty is often seen as a measure of an individual's value, with the beautiful being seen as virtuous, natural leaders, and on a pedestal above the commoners that they are surrounded by. Komi expresses this sentiment in nearly every panel, and it can especially be seen in Volume 1 when Komi is nominated as class president, not due to her merit as a student or scholastic achievement, but due to her natural beauty and grace causing her to be perceived as a perfect fit for the class leadership role. This nomination is then taken to comedic extremes when it is decided that the title of class president is too lowly for Komi, and they instead vote her in as literally God instead. While this is hilarious in its ridiculousness, it is quite accurate in its implications. In our society, beauty is God, and those who are seen as beautiful and attractive are afforded greater opportunities than those who are not perceived in this way, leading us into yet another harsh reality. In the same way that those who are perceived as beautiful are immediately placed on a pedestal, those viewed as ugly and having traits not in line with traditional beauty standards are often placed on a lower social rung by default. Tadano in the narrative of Komi Can't Communicate is often the punching bag for this point, being seen as excessively common and average, making him unworthy of even breathing the same air, let alone being friends with someone as gorgeous as Komi. Tadano has even internalized his rhetoric within himself. If one has never experienced discrimination based on physical factors before, one does not have to look very far in their personal circle or online for individuals who can quickly and extensively share how they were treated differently after gaining or losing weight, were told that they were unappealing or subhuman due to their skin color. The list stretches on. As ridiculous as it is, our society truly tends to split the population into the binary categories of good and bad based on physical attractiveness. I'm sure I do not have to do a great deal of explaining as to why this is a genuinely terrible and arbitrary mode of labeling, as most of us past a certain age realize that one's outward physical appearance has exceedingly little to do with the individual's personal morals, ethics, and strength of character. What I would also like to mention though is that while on the whole I feel it is a more positive experience to be universally viewed as attractive rather than unattractive, this does not mean that this designation doesn't come with its own set of issues. In the same way individuals are dehumanized for being unattractive, individuals can also be dehumanized for their attractiveness by being objectified into little more than sex objects. Individuals who are seen as beautiful are also subject to having their humanity taken away from them, with those they encounter seeking not to know them for the person that they are, but rather the idealized version of them that they have created in their own mind. Women and men both can be distilled into little more than a series of anatomical parts, with individuals only ever ever perceiving what is on the surface, never actually getting to know the person deep within. This reality is the very foundation of Komi, with her feeling extremely lonely and isolated in reality despite her perceived popularity and everyone thinking that she has a vast number of friends. Throughout her childhood and teenage years, everyone only paid attention to what was on the outside of Komi. If they would have ever taken more than 2 seconds to actually get to know her, her shyness and crippling social anxiety would have been made apparent fairly early on. Komi Can't Communicate made me once again process the reality that objectification comes in many forms. The content creator KJMProductions has a quote that has really stuck with me, stating that while we cannot control the first thought that comes into our mind when we see someone, we can control the second. It is so important for us to be mindful of our internal biases in our interactions with others and not let our snap judgments be the final determining factor in how we interact with those we meet in the external world. If you like Komi, I highly recommend a series called Inside Mari, created by the legend Shuzo Oshimi, that also tackles the subject of objectification and isolation and does so pretty damn masterfully. Thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. Don't hesitate to communicate with me in the comment section, and I will see you all in the next video.